Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we discuss time being up for the Glazers, with both Al Thani and Sir Jim pushing the Glazers to get this deal over the line quickly. Both parties, both potential new owners of Manchester United, really concerned about the delays in relation to the transfer window. I don't know whether we mentioned it on the show yesterday, but Erik ten Hag is certainly very, very concerned about the summer transfer window and doesn't actually know what his plans are. And this is something that Sir Jim and Al Thani are eager to get resolved very quickly, even wanting the green light to start working on transfers next week if they're successful, which the Glazers probably won't let happen. Also, Donny van der Beek is going to be back from injury very soon. What does that mean for him? There's been talk of Jadon Sancho going on loan. We'll talk about that as well as a few other transfer bits as well. So lots to get into on the show, and obviously we're going to talk about the latest with the sale. Nice to be live with you for the first time today, actually. It's a bank holiday in the UK today, and last night I went out and got a little bit drunk. So I've had a very bad headache all day today. But I'm looking forward to this show, and we're doing a 7 o'clock show because I'm doing Leicester versus Everton watch along on That's Football. So I think that's going to be a nice Monday night watch along. So if you want to join me for that afterwards, you're all welcome. Other order of the day, Dublin end of season show. Tickets are going fast. Links in the live chat and in the video description. Looking forward to seeing you all there. Get your tickets while you can. Tony, welcome to the members club as well. Appreciate that. And Zach as well. Right, let's fly into this show. Let's get into it. This is what we're here for. Let's talk about what this latest situation is. So coming in from the Telegraph, I'm just going to give you the latest news really. This is coming in from the Telegraph in relation to Manchester United. And it goes like this. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos bid for Manchester United includes a demand for immediate control over transfers from the moment a potential deal is agreed in the coming weeks. That's from the Telegraph. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants an immediate ownership of the football club in relation to transfers and would want to take immediate control in the next few weeks ahead of the summer transfer window. And while Sir Jim Ratcliffe is focused on immediate player dealings, Sheikh Jassim Al Thani wants an even wider oversight of the club from the get-go should his takeover attempt be successful. So this story from the Telegraph isn't really saying one or the other is going to win. It's just saying that both QATAR and Ineos, Sir Jim Al Thani, two separate bids, both want control very, very quickly. They want the Glazers to make their mind up and then let's get moving on it quick, because they're both aware of the summer transfer window obviously being very important. Despite Avram and Joel Glazer reportedly staying involved in Manchester United, should Sir Jim Ratcliffe successfully take over the club, it would be made clear that he is in charge of recruitment, and it is understood that both Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim will want influence as soon as their offers get the green light. Despite Sir Jim and Jassim wanting control as soon as a potential deal is made, it is unlikely that the Glazers will accept this before the sale is complete. And I think, look, you know, there's many different strands, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to ask for different information tonight. Hope you're feeling better after yesterday, Mark, says Connor. Well, I'm always better when I'm talking with you lot about the things that I care about. I think it helps us, doesn't it, whether it's therapy or what. But look, I think that there is a lot to get into tonight on the current state of play, and we'll talk about, you know, who's winning the race at the moment. You know, is it going to be Sir Jim, the betrayal that many of us feel? But ultimately, there are a few Sir Jim Ratcliffe sympathisers in the fan base, and we'll talk about what their stance is, because I've had a few people message me, and, you know, the United Stand is not meant to be, I'll have an opinion, I'll always have an opinion, but we won't ignore the other side of the coin. There's no point. Otherwise, it's not a proper debate. So we will talk about that. But this story is very much a concern I've had that the Telegraph are talking about, regardless of who gets regardless of whoever gets hold of the football club, whether it's QATAR or Ineos. They want to get cracking straight away. It's May the 1st today. Happy May 1st, if you're interested. Basically, the transfer window opens up in 4 weeks' time. I know the official date is what? I don't know what the official date is this year. Was it June the 10th last year? But as soon as that season's over, it's transfers. You know that. You know that's what's going to happen. So United have got a month, really. And also, a lot of players and agents are already talking to clubs. There is a strong rumour coming out of the United that Ten Hag doesn't even know what his budget is this summer. And so therefore, he doesn't even know what players they're looking at. But obviously, both Sir Jim and Al Thani want control ASAP. Well, that article says, and it's quite right, there ain't no way the Glazers are going to give control on transfers until the full sale is done. Well, the full sale, I mean, quick best case scenario, yeah? Tomorrow, they say Sir Jim's won or Al Thani's won. That's full sale probably will take anywhere between 1 and 2 months if it's done quickly. If the Glazers aren't going to give up control until that deal is completed, this transfer window is opening with the Glazers in charge of transfers, and that's a bloody joke. But you know, I understand why Sir Jim and Al Thani want to get hold of it quickly, but the Glazers aren't going to do it. And you know what? In many ways, you can sort of, I don't agree with it because they're rubbish owners, but it would be like you selling your house. And before it's completed, they're coming round at the weekend, you know, fitting new carpet and painting the walls. You know, hold on a minute. It's not your house yet. And I think that's the problem they're going to have. I can't stress how many Twitter accounts Ineos have blocked for simply asking questions. These could be our owners. Disgusting, says Rob. Yeah, I've heard a lot about this. I mean, I can't speak firsthand. The protests were amazing, Mark. However, I feel the United stand should have done more to promote it, says Alpha. Thanks for your troll comment. That's always nice. Qatar in, Sir Jim Glazers out. Thank Mark for the years of honest work and great work on the United stand, and everyone who watching you. Wish you all the best, says Sean Adams. Thank you very much. Welcome to the main Members Club, Wayne. Appreciate that. And Tony. So yeah, look, this is a bit of a concern. It's another angle. For me, this has been something that's always been there from the start. How long is this sale going to take? We are not going to get new owners by the start of the transfer window. So therefore, we are going to be in the hands of the Glazers, John Murtagh, and whatever their plan is. I personally think, Ben Lee, welcome to the Members Club. I personally think that what United are going to do this summer transfer window is they're going to carry on with this sale however long it takes, and if it doesn't get done till July, it doesn't get done till July. And what they'll do in the meantime to buy them time and, you know, spin us the fans, what I think they'll do is they'll just be working on a Harry Kane deal. You look at last year, Frankie de Jong. We were interested in Frankie de Jong from about now, and we never bought him. But the first two and a half months of the transfer window, it was all about Frankie de Jong every day. We never bought him. And then it moved to Malacia, Ericsson, Martinez in July. I think they'll do that again. I think this sale will carry on. We won't get the new owners in until July, but what they'll do in the meantime is, Harry Kane. I think that's what they'll do. Paul Woolley's just gifted 5 memberships. What a legend he is. Thank you very much to that, Paul. Jim and the Glazers mean that Arnold and Murtagh stay. Nothing will change, says Reb. And Billy Garland, welcome to the Members Club. And also Glazers out, says CY7. I think you make a good point there, actually, Reb, because I want to move this story on now. Obviously, we've spoken there that whoever the new owners are, they want to get control of the transfers immediately so that they can start to plan the summer. The Glazers will resist that, of course. But where are we now? And what would the future look like? Because I think this is something that, yeah, it's speculative, but I think you can sort of guess quite comfortably what's going to happen. And I would always say, look, don't count out Al Thani and QATAR yet. I think a lot of people have written them off, and I just think that, and again, I'll use an analogy here, and I'm not going to use a person because that's just a bit sus. But if you've got something you really like your house again, and you want to keep that house, but you're getting divorced, and you know your partner wants to sell it, but you don't really want to sell it, but you know it's probably for the best because you can't afford to keep it. Do you get somebody to come and half own the house with you, and actually they'll have more power, or do you just sell it and walk away? And I think that's what Joel and Avram are doing here. They had control of this house. Their siblings want out. They've got this offer from Sir Jim where he will own half of it, but they can still have a say in it. But, you know, if he wants a bath, they're going to have to use the downstairs toilet. Or they can just sell it all and walk away with a load of money. And I just think, you know, is the writing not on the wall for the Glazers? And also, it's a much quicker deal, isn't it? You know, if Joel and Avram do a deal with Sir Jim, that's going to take months of who gets a say on this, who gets a say on that. You know, it's going to take ages. And will it work? Do these people even know each other? You know, one of the things I find remarkable, and I'd be interested to know what you think about this, is we're getting this rammed down our throat from the media in this country because they don't want QATAR, they want Sir Jim. You know, he's got the media behind him, basically. But I've not heard any journalist, and to be fair, I've not heard any fan come out with this yet, so we'll talk about it. Why is it that right now there is this general consensus that QATAR are not going to win and Sir Jim's going to win? But what nobody's actually talking about is how likely is it that somebody owns a football club for 18 years, like Joel and Avram, and then Sir Jim Radcliffe, who they don't even know, they're not mates, they're not related, are suddenly going to run the club together? I just don't know. I've run businesses with friends, and it can damage a relationship. I can't imagine having to run a business with somebody I don't even know who's I just don't think it's going to work. I just don't, and I don't know why people aren't talking about it. Zakaria out and Glazers out, says 48. And I live in Florida. I think it's time I take care of the Glazers myself, says Angel. We don't do anything illegal. And do we actually know what has been enclosed, or is it just media spin? Does the gym want full ownership? And similar to the Qataris, there is too many, says Slow Sports News. Well, I'm happy to discuss that. The current situation is that Al Thani, Qatar, want to buy all of the club, clear all of the debts, and just spend loads of money on stadia, infrastructure and players. It's basically Abu Dhabi, Man City, Saudi Arabia. It's basically PSG. That's the model. Like it or not, Ben Foster said it this morning on the show, morals don't exist in football anymore. That is the meal ticket. Qatar, you don't need to worry about debt anymore. You don't need to worry about dividends anymore. You don't need to worry about a rusting stadium anymore. You will get the best of the best. That's what will happen. So we know that option is there, of course. What does Sir Jim Ratcliffe represent? Well, we're only talking what we've been reported here. And if we can say that that's what Qatar's going to do, we can say what Sir Jim's going to do, because they've both been reported quite regularly by lots of journalists. Sir Jim Ratcliffe can't afford to buy all of the club, so it will be about half of the club. He also can't afford to clear the debt that the club's got, but he won't put any more debt on. So £500 million of debt will stay. He will only own half of it, but he'll have a majority shareholding. Joel and Avram will stay with about 20%. And then you've got another 30%, which is on the New York Stock Exchange through various investment firms. It'll be messy. They will have money for transfers, but we don't know how much. They will do something with the stadium, but we don't know how they're going to fund that. It can only be funded on debt. Now, people are going to be screaming and shouting and saying, you're speculating, Mark, you're speculating, Mark. I am speculating, I put my hands up there, but I'm also going off well-sourced information. So the future with Sir Jim, which hasn't been refuted in nearly a week, and you'd do it straight away if it wasn't true, because the damage it's done, there are pictures of Sir Jim Ratcliffe with a rat before the cliff. So that's how angry some United fans are with him. You would have stopped that straight away when it came out last Wednesday night if it wasn't true. So there must be an element of truth there. They're blocking people apparently with the Ineos account. They've not done anything to stop those rumours. And the story has always been he will not clear the debt and he cannot buy all of the club. So when people say, well, he's going to spend money on transfers, spending a couple of £100 million one summer is not a lot for a club. They can refinance that. You can borrow that. You can speculate on Champions League earnings. Spending £200 million this summer and next summer under Sir Jim, I would expect that. The Glazers have done that. So transfer spend, I wouldn't expect. I expect him to spend a couple of £100 million. But my big thing is, well, one, I've always said anybody who keeps the Glazers in the club is an enemy of the fans. So I've got to be consistent, because I was saying that about the Elliott Group. And two, if you can't afford to clear the debt and you can't afford to buy the whole club, how are you affording to build a stadium if you're not going to do it through debt? So I think there's a very, very clear option one, which is the full sale and everything gets paid for and cleared. Option two, which just becomes this mess where you've got 30% on the New York Stock Exchange, you've got 20% with Joel and Avram, and then you've got about 50% with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and none of these people actually know each other, trying to run our football club. I mean, Sir Jim, Joel and Avram, they don't have Christmas together. They don't go on holiday together. They don't go trick-or-treating together. They're business people who are going to try and run the biggest club in the world. I think the one thing that gives me hope is the fact that if I was Joel and Avram, I'd be like, why are we hanging around? Why are we hanging around? We're giving 50% to Sir Jim. All right, we'll have some voting rights, but it's clearly going to get messy. He's going to try and buy us out at some point. We can just walk away with 700 million and turn our back on this and go and do some deals with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where they're playing NFL games in Qatar. I don't know. And that's a big thing to bring in as well. If they do a deal with Qatar, it opens up the NFL to Qatar. There's a lot of money to be made there because they still own Tampa Bay and they care about that. Unrelated, but do you think we have 50% chance with the FA Cup, says Salim? I hope so. No dividends for the Glazers if Sir Jim Radcliffe gets it. No financial gain at all. I'm calling bullshit, says Greg. Your time is up. My time is now. You can't see me. Time is now, says Lil. Thank you very much. I think it's a shame on all the fans who pay for tickets and merchandising if the Glazers sell to Jim and ignore the fans who want them to leave. Oh, well, Cameron, they're never going to care about that. Hi, Mark. I hope you're on the mend, mate. I think Sir Jim Radcliffe's position is media hype. They don't want United owned by Qatar, and they're hoping to sway public opinion, says Mike Calvert. And Average Joe says, if Jim Glazer keeps on the two proper gentlemen, they will have to change the A and B shares. This means the others owners get 30%, says Average Joe. Well, there's a lot that needs to happen. So basically, says Stephen Rossi, Sir Jim will be that angel investor you feared the Glazers would get to help them keep the club. It's the worst case scenario. And it's like McDonald's and Burger King working as one, Mark. One won't be able to decide which burger is best, says Andy Cheetham. Yeah, look, forget all the protests and the Glazer out and the full sale and Sir Jim Radcliffe with the rat and all that. Forget all that for a minute. Ultimately, there was a journalist this morning in The Athletic, Adam Crafton, who basically said, call it what it is. All these United fans who want a full sale and the Glazers out, they basically want Qatar, so why don't they have banners with Qatar on? And I was like, that's a really interesting point from a journalist. It's a brave point. You're going to get a lot of stick for it, so I'm not going to give him any stick back. I respect people with a different opinion. Ultimately, you can't have the cheers without the booze. And I'm not talking about alcohol there. I mean, some people will really be happy about watching a film and some people will think it's crap. That's the price of freedom of speech, isn't it? That's the price of having an opinion. Some people will have a very different opinion to you. I'm not offended by people saying, well, all these people who say Glazers out and full sale, they're just too scared to say Qatar in. But that's wrong. That's not what the protests have been about for the last 18, 20 years. And that's not what full sale means. Full sale, we're always being attacked as United fans because we want a full sale. And you get the elite, whether it's the media, the journalists, trying to undermine fans. That's what they always do. The e-fans, the online fans, the uneducated fans who don't realise that having Qatar is terrible for the human race. But that's not what the protests were about, and that's not what we're about. When we say full sale, Glazers out, that doesn't mean Qatar in. People want Qatar because it's the only people who will do a full sale. But what we actually want, well, yeah, obviously it's going to be Qatar because it's the only thing. But that's not our fault. United fans don't want the Glazers out in a full sale just because Qatar want to buy us. United fans wanted a full sale and Glazers out for the last 20 years. You can't just go, say it how it is. You're Qatar in. Well, we are Qatar in because, and we are Al Thani in because he represents a full sale and he's the only horse in the race for that. But if Elon Musk was there, we'd want that. If Amazon were there, we'd want that. If Apple was there, we'd want that. If 10 billionaires wanted to buy Man United on a full sale, take your pick. I'm not really bothered. Of course, in this scenario, we do want Qatar because it's the only one we know of that wants a full sale. But United fans wanted a full sale before we even knew about Qatar. Last summer, we thought Sir Jim represented a full sale. So don't have a pop at United fans like they're thick, naive people. I mean, the media hardly even ever cover the Glazer story intelligently. I remember when the Liverpool game got called off, Match of the Day, which I pay for and many other people pay for with their TV licence, Match of the Day had Jermaine Genius and Alan Shearer sat there, and Genius is going, I don't know why they're protesting. The Glazers have spent lots of money on transfers. And that's a guy sat talking to millions of people on the British Broadcasting Corporation, which is meant to be educated and top-level journalism. And he's sat there going, I don't know what United fans are getting games called off for. The Glazers have spent loads of money on transfers. And I'm like, what? I can't speak. What are you talking about, mate? But United fans have always wanted a full sale, is my point. So, no, we don't need to change the banners to Qatar in, because full sale means we want a full sale of the club. Glazers out means we want Glazers out. We don't need to change it to Qatar in because the message has always been full sale and Glazers out for years and years and years and years. So don't let these people try and, come at you with a bit of propaganda and a bit of so-called highbrow intelligence just because in their minds they think we're all chanting for Qatar. Qatar was never in the race. We still wanted a full sale. And the reason we want a full sale is because it's the best thing for any football club to have one person in charge. This Sir Jim thing with 30% on the New York Stock Exchange, 20% with the Glazers and 50% with him, it's just a joke. It's a mess. How are you going to get anything done? We need full sale because we want proper, responsible ownership. I've said this before, I don't want a fan forum where fans have a say on the board. We're not ready for that. We need 5 years of strong leadership where somebody rebuilds the stadium, backs this great manager, builds the infrastructure and clears the debt. And maybe in 5 years' time, that owner might look at some sort of fan representation ownership. That would be great, but not. We don't need that immediately. We just need good ownership that we haven't had for a very long time. So Jim wanted to buy a small share before and later end up with full ownership, but at the same time, the Glazers didn't want to sell. It's like you said before, it was always their plan. I think that was always part of their plan as well, says Eman. Well, there was a quote that went out on the United Stand yesterday evening, which was a quote I remember vividly from about last October, before the club had been put up for sale, where Sir Jim said he'd met Avram and Joel and they're proper gentlemen and they're proper nice people. And at the time, we just didn't want to... I think we twisted it, didn't we? We were like, oh, he's just playing the game because he wants to keep them on side when they sell the club. But what if he was telling the truth? What if he really likes Joel and Avram? They're really great people. I mean, fucking hell, that's potentially our new owner. Harry Maguire has just gifted 10 memberships. I'd love it to be the real one. Wasn't Ziliakos offer for full sale also? Would you take him over QATAR, says Spencer? The thing about Ziliakos is Thomas Ziliakos, I think he's from Finland, isn't he? He's a billionaire. Beth interviewed him a few weeks ago. I would love him. Harry Maguire's gifted another 10 memberships. I would love Ziliakos to buy the club because I know about as much about what his plan is as I do Sir Jim or Al-Thani. But I think the general consensus with Ziliakos is that it's all a bit of a load of nonsense because he tweets about it. Al-Thani's not tweeting about it. Sir Jim's not tweeting about it. But wouldn't it be funny if Ziliakos did get hold of the club, considering he's actually been on the United stand? But, you know, I genuinely don't think that there is anything seriously going on with Ziliakos. But there's no reason why I wouldn't want it to happen if it was a full sale. But yeah, there's a few holes in that story. I don't think we think it's. I don't think it's any. I don't think there's any truth in it. You've called them cancer to this club. You have to remove the tumour, or it might spread to Jim, and he will suffer by keeping them in the club, says Udit. Look, I was very down yesterday. We were doing the watch along yesterday, and I felt very down. It was obviously a lot of people messaged me saying, you know, it was very obvious that you were not interested in the football yesterday, and I make no apologies for that. I wasn't. That's why I went down the pub. I just was fed up. I was just like, I'm not doing another video talking about this situation at United. I'm fed up with it. And the reason I was fed up is because, yeah, we played well yesterday. We beat Villa. It's a very, very good result. But the bigger picture is 3 points against Villa in Champions League football next season. What does it matter if we can't compete with Man City ever again? Because we just don't have the right, ownership model. And I think Sir Jim Radcliffe represents a type of ownership that just can't compete. And I don't think I'll be proved wrong on that. I just don't think he has the wealth and the experience and I don't think he has the intention of running the football club to compete with Man City. I think he wants to run the club in a responsible way. And which brings me nicely onto something else. I've had a few people messaging me about this, and they are pro Sir Jim, and they're like, I just don't want QATAR. I do not want QATAR, Mark, under any circumstances. I do not want it. I don't like their human rights history. I don't like, what's happened at Man City. I don't want QATAR. I'd rather walk away and support somebody else. You have to respect that. I'm not here to tell them they're wrong. It's their personal opinion, and some people are very strong about it. And then you get the next bit. I want Sir Jim. He's a local billionaire. He cares about the club, and he'll run the club responsibly. I can't argue with that opinion, by the way. I don't want QATAR. It's it's not what I want. It's not what I don't want as owned like Man City. I want Sir Jim because I want us to be run as a responsible, morally grounded football club. That's absolutely fantastic for that person that they can educate and put out what their opinion is. Maybe a couple of years ago, maybe even a year ago, maybe even 6 months ago, I probably would have agreed with it on some points. But also I'm a realist, and I think a lot of people are realists. We're only here once. What life is it to go to Seb and my daughters? Well, I remember when Man United used to be the best team in the world. And then basically we got the Glazers bought us, rammed us into debt, completely destroyed us, and then basically sold us to this other guy who was just an organic guy who just wanted United to run off their profits, and then we never won anything again. It's what a great story that is. And for some people it is a great story, but for me I'm just like, well, Man City have got it, Newcastle have got it, PSG have got it, someone else is going to get it very, very soon. I want us to win. Ultimately, I want us to play a game of football against Man City and beat them. And the only way we're going to do that is fighting fire with fire. And, ultimately, that's what I want. I want to watch football where my team is the best. I didn't ruin the morals of football. I didn't make football greedy. I just look at the game of football and go, how does my team beat the best? And the only way, and it's just problem solving. How does my team beat the best? It's got to match the best. What the hell is it to do with transfers? Look at Spurs. They want Levy because Tottenham are not performing. We want Glazers gone because of debts. It's slow so much news. What about our British rights? We have squaddies living on the streets and child abuse marks. It's Paul Woolley. Harry Maguire gifted another 5 memberships. Thank you very much. Paul, I don't know. Maybe I'm not dismissing what you said there, Paul, but I don't really get what your point is. I mean, it's very sad that people are living on the streets and child abuse is very sad, but I don't know what that's got to do with what we're talking about. So maybe you want to expand on that because it sounds like a serious point. James C says all subscribers start emailing Ineos 10 times a day, even if it's just a thumbs up. 16 million daily emails will cause a problem, says James C. And Brian Rhodes, thank you very much for your super chat there. Yeah, okay, let's have a look. So yeah, look, we're just going to have to see what happens over the next few days. I think it's worth just saying that there is some, the media don't want Qatar to own Man United. It's some of you will live in the UK, some of you won't, but they don't. They don't want them to. So, but also I think Sir Jim has played a very, clever move. I don't like it, but a very clever move to. Basically he couldn't win this race, so he's tried and cut a deal with Joel and Avram, hasn't he? He's tried to get in through the back door and said sod the fans. We'll have to just wait and see what happens, but I don't even want to predict what's going to happen, because I've got no inside knowledge at all, and nobody will say anything anymore. I'm probably 50-50. I think that the logical sale is the full sale, because remember as well, if you do a deal with Sir Jim, you've got to wait for him to get his loan. Basically, if you try and buy a house, some of you might have bought a house, some of you might want to buy a house at some point. If 6 people want to buy a house and you've got the money in your pocket, you'll get that house. Because the other 5 might be waiting to sell their house to get the money. They might be waiting for a mortgage from a bank or something like that. But if you've got the money in your pocket, you'll win. Because that's very attractive to a seller when that person's like, I've got the money here right now. Let's crack on. If someone else is part of a chain or they've got to get a loan to do it, it's not as safe as the person who's going, well, here's the money. And I just think, well, that's surely got to make Qatar really, really attractive to the Glazers. The money, and look, I'm going to make people feel confident that Qatar are going to get it now, because I'm going to say this: you've got somebody who's got the money right there. There you go. There's 5 billion. Take it. You've got it, right? Okay. But not only that, that American football team that you own, let's sort out a deal. Let's get you over to Qatar. You can be the first team that comes over and plays regularly. Look at the market for NFL in this country. Look what happened with the World Cup. Get yourself over to Qatar, Tampa Bay. You can be the team. There's a lot for Joel and Avram of benefits with Qatar. And that makes you think, oh, that can happen. But then on the other hand, you've got Sir Jim going, yeah, we'll pay your siblings off. You can keep 20%. We'll try and double that 20% in what its value is over the next 5 to 10 years. You can stay on the board and have a say as well. That's attractive as well, isn't it? So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. What do I think is going to happen? I'm 50-50. What do we know echoes in eternity that which is bad for the hive is bad for the bee, says Marcus Aurelius. Mike Calvert, thank you very much. And Khalid says, can we acknowledge the fact that we are talking about a British team owned by American owners and people are crying about Qatar's human rights record, says Khalid. Thank you very much. And Zadie says, as an African from West Africa, should we hate the crown for things of the past? What's the margin for these moral compasses, says Zadie. Well, the thing about a moral compass is that everybody holds one. You can't, you can't, as I said before, we live in a democracy and everyone's got a moral compass. And you can't argue because someone's moral compass points in a different direction to you. That's what opinion and democracy is all about. So, some people might be very offended by Manchester United being bought by Qatar. Some people might be very excited by that. But ultimately, I would always say to those people, stick your nose in something else because football's got no morals anyway. It's the most greedy, mercenary, backstabbing, cover-up environment around, really. Some of the stuff you don't know about footballers and football clubs that gets hidden, and these embargoes and all sorts. There's a lot of money in football, and money makes the football world go round. I mean, I don't know whether you saw that clip yesterday from Leeds players coming out of the hotel. There's little kids there, sort of speaking to the players. I'm not. Maybe they want maybe want an autograph, whatever. The players, headphones on, head down, just walking past them. How up your own arse or out of touch do you have to be as a footballer to not realise that you can look at one of those kids and at least just give them a thumbs up, or just say, sorry, I've got to get on the bus. Just acknowledge another human being that actually idolises you. But that's football. They're paid so much money, they're pampered, they're out of touch. They're out of touch. And the morals have gone out of football. There's very few nice footballers out there and who actually get what's going on. And most of them follow me and chat with me on Instagram. But no, jokes aside, but it is a very, there's no morals in football is what I'm trying to say. And I love football. It doesn't make me want to not watch football, but it does make me laugh. Well, it doesn't make me laugh, but it does make me think, why are we talking about moral compass and moral decisions in football when football doesn't have any morals and hasn't had morals for a very long time? I mean, our owners, Liverpool's owners, Arsenal's owners, they were trying to take us into a Super League. There's no morals in football. It's all about the money. What do you think of people that want QATAR but not Greenwood, says Adrio? I've never really thought of it, to be honest. Nathan says, as a non-United supporter, I have a feeling the club just won't sell, if I'm being honest. QATAR offered $5 billion. Why wouldn't they accept that? I don't know, but I will agree with those people that if QATAR doesn't get hold of Man United, they'll go and buy someone else in the Premier League. And I can't understand what the Glazers even gain from being here. They're hated. I don't think they even like the sport, and they will never see $5 billion again. That was from Nate. Thank you very much. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. I really enjoy it. Well done. Just watch Ben's show. Nice win, Mark. 100%. Yeah, don't forget to watch the football fill-in later. Very good weekly I do with Ben Foster on his channel. Goldbridge dominating the quiz this season. Did it again. And Mark, do you think United should appoint Brighton CEO or director of football? They look so organised as a football club, says Omar. Well, I wouldn't mind us doing it. I'd feel a bit bad for Brighton. Ben Foster always has time for the kids at Wrexham, says Andy Cheetham. That doesn't sound great, does it? But you are right. But Ben Foster's a nice guy. I've met a lot of footballers, and we've had Incy on the channel. I did the show with Giggs a few years ago. I've met quite a lot of footballers. We've not always done stuff on the United stand with them, but I've met a lot of footballers, ex-United footballers, and I've said it time and time again. He is just a really top guy. If he saw you on the street, he'd happily give you a photo. So yeah, it's not the first time. I mean, it's like that. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not saying United's current players are brilliant, but I think they all need a bit of work. I mean, we all saw that video of the Arsenal fans walking up to the mascot who's waiting there, and they literally were walking in a row and just going and walking away. It was like a second and walking away, not acknowledging the child at all or their father. It's just out of touch. It's scary. It's scary. Look, when I do the live shows, when I see people, and they want a picture and stuff, I do it. And I'm not even a bloody footballer. Manners cost nothing, don't they? I get that the fact that they might have a flight to catch or a bus to catch, but if you can't give a photo and a chat, you just say, "I'm sorry, I've got to get off, but thanks for coming," or just smile at them, just give them a thumbs up. It's amazing. But look, we're not here to talk about that, are we? Let's just hit some other news. Donny van der Beek has been speaking to United today. I think it was an interview he did. He's saying that he's going to be back very soon. So I don't know what very soon means, but hopefully that means start of the season. Obviously, he's not going to be back by the end of the season. He said he's been in the gym and he hopes to be back out on the grass very soon. I mean, it's only the start of May. If he was on the, basically back for pre-season at the start of July would be very good for Donny van der Beek. I suppose the next question from that is, do we sell him? Because I thought Donny wasn't going to be back until November, so you can't sell him in the summer. If he's back fully fit in July, there's no reason you can't sell him. Now, people would say, well, who's going to buy him when he's had a bad injury? But that's what a medical's for. I still think he could be sold. Do I think he'll be sold? I don't know, but I'm very happy that he's back fit. I mean, whether Donny van der Beek's going to turn it round at Manchester United, I mean, sometimes you just have to accept it doesn't feel like it's going to happen. But it's very encouraging that he's back. Qatar, you can come by Liverpool if you want, says Nathan Allen. If Qatar don't win, they will just use another sheikh with another foundation as the face of their bid for another Premier League club, and the press will sit back, says Glenny Boy. Yeah, I'm very, very confident that will happen, to be honest with you. Very, very confident. There was also a story about Jadon Sancho, which was quite weird, from Germany, saying that Dortmund are still in contact with Sancho and would be open to him going back on loan. I don't really get how, why. I mean, I just think it's a nonsense story. I don't know about you, but Jadon Sancho going back to Dortmund on loan. I can't fathom that. I really can't. I mention it because it confused me a little bit and I wanted to bring it into the community, but I can't see that. I mean, I think Jadon Sancho has a challenge. I've always said this, you know my stance on Sancho. I like him. I think we've got to be patient, but I look at the picture and I go, well, Rashford's off the left, Antony's off the right, and a new striker. That's happening in the summer. So where does Sancho play? And Sancho needs to start. Will he be happy just being a bench player at Man United? And I think Sancho needs to be better than that. So long term, maybe he doesn't have a future at Man United. Maybe he does. But I can't see United loaning him this summer. I just can't see that at all. Darren says, Saudis were patient with Newcastle and waited a few years to make it happen. Doesn't mean the Qatar bid is off. They're patient people, says Darren. Yeah, but the thing I would say about that, Darren, is that you know, Mike Ashley held on to the club, didn't he? I think if Sir Jim gets the club, Qatar ain't getting the club, because Sir Jim's not going to get we're not going to get a new owner and then Sir Jim a couple of years later. You had Mike Ashley, they didn't get it, and then it was still Mike Ashley, and they did get it a bit later, didn't they? So I think it's now or never, really, with that. I mean, one thing that I read it on Twitter this afternoon, and it got me thinking. I mean, at the end of the day, why would Sir Jim do a deal to get hold of Man United with the Glazers? Has he never thought of having a chat with Qatar and saying, do you want to do a deal? Like, I mean, I know that sounds very, very unlikely, but, and it's probably because Qatar just want to own it all themselves, to be fair. Maybe there has been an approach from Sir Jim to them to say, are you interested in a 50-50 split? But I think that in itself shows you how stupid it is to do a deal with the Glazers. Like, if you can't afford to buy it all, shit or get off the potty, basically, isn't it? If you can't afford to buy it all, jog on. Don't construct a deal where you're keeping the people that have ruined the club over 18 years and debt. Like, that's clearly not. And I'll argue this with anyone. If what they said about Sir Jim's bid is true, how can anybody be positive about that when you've got somebody else offering loads of money to buy it all and clear the debt? I don't get how anybody could say, well, no, I quite like the Sir Jim bid, when he clearly can't afford it and he's borrowing to do it. And then you've got people going, yeah, but it's a gradual plan to get rid of the Glazers. He buys half now, and then in a couple of years he'll get rid of the Glazers. Well, where's the money coming from in a couple of years to get rid of the Glazers then? And why has he not got it now? You see, you can always call out a bullshitter. Because I've heard a few people. I mean, Gary Neville said it on Overlap the other night, didn't he? He said that maybe Sir Jim's plan is he can't afford it at the moment, but in a couple of years' time he'll get rid of Joel and Avram. But where's that money coming from in a couple of years? Because it won't come from United. Joel and Avram's 20% is going to cost you about $1.5 billion. United only clears about 200 profit a year. And that will have to go towards transfers. So where are you going to find $1.5 billion in a couple of years? You see, you can call the bullshit out. If Jim gets hold of the club, 50% of it, he's got to build a stadium, which is going to cost $1 to $2 billion. He's got to buy players, which is going to cost him, anywhere between 200 and $500 million. So straight away, there's $2 billion of expenditure in his first few years. So where's he going to find another billion or $1.5 billion to get rid of the Glazers? It's not going to happen. It's just spin to make you think it's going to happen. If he can't afford it now, how could he afford it? How is he going to pay the Glazers off in 2 years' time? Where's that money coming from? But people will put that in writing. People will verbalise that to you. oh, it's just part of a plan. He can't afford to get rid of them now, so he's going to get what he can now, and then he's going to get rid of them in a couple of years. How? We're talking about $1.5 billion for that 20%. That's what we're talking about. All the other siblings are getting about 700 million for their 50%. So where is he going to get this $1.5 billion to get rid of Joel and Avram? Where's that coming from? Oh, I found it down the back of the settee. It's debt, isn't it, again? Mark, when are you going to do a Birmingham show, says Paul? I'm working on that one, actually. If Qatar don't win, they will just use another... I've done that one from Glenny Boy. And every other country has an Independence Day from British imperialism, and they've invaded Middle East as recent as early 2000s. Human right hypocrites, says Snips. Hi, Mark. The issue is Sheikh Jazim's bid values the club lower than Sir Jim. The Glazers would get more dollar as a percentage under Sir Jim. Keep up the great work, says Ryle. Yeah, they would. But we're talking about... I'm not talking about why Joel and Avram would stay. I think that's very obvious. You've just said it there. But I'm calling bullshit that Jim's going to get rid of Joel and Avram in the next couple of years. If you haven't at Ineos on socials yet, they're letting us down. Their slow socials, take it up a notch, says James C. Well, let's just wait and see what's going to happen with the sale. Look, at the moment, there's a lot of positive stuff around Sir Jim getting the club. Let's hope it swings back the other way because Jim, Glazers fans are saying Ineos will pay, says Average Joe. And, well, why don't they pay now then? Why are Ineos borrowing money from America to buy it in the first place? If Ineos, this is, again, just call the bullshit out. If Ineos has got all this money, why aren't they paying for it now? They're borrowing money so Sir Jim can buy Man United, which is fine. Businesses do that. But if they've got the money anyway, why aren't they just buying it? Why aren't they just buying it outright now? You can always call the bullshit, you see. Remember, Richard Arnold came personally to meet Sir Jim outside. Sir Jim apparently met Ten Hag as well. Coincidence? I don't think so. It's done, says Shahin. Well, a lot of people would say Richard Arnold's job's safe under Sir Jim. John Murtaugh's job is safe under Sir Jim. You know, is it just going to be more of the same with Sir Jim and the Glazers working together? We don't know. We'll have to just wait and see. Harry Maguire's gifted a lot of memberships tonight. Imagine if it was the real one. There's something going on. And I think it's a bit dodgy with Sir Jim and Glazers. Don't they have a connection in America, says Ian Wright. Well, Sir Jim's meant to be borrowing the money through Ineos from America, yeah. Apparently Varane is back in training. That would be absolutely incredible if that is true. I don't know whether that is true or not, but we'll see. Right, I'm going to go and do a watch-along for Leicester against Everton. It's a massive game. I'm watching it, so I thought I'd do a watch-along for it. You're more than welcome to join me on That's Football. I'll be live in about 5 minutes on there. Thanks, everyone, for tonight. I'll be back on the morning show at 10 o'clock or anything in between if anything has happened. Make sure you subscribe and smash a like on the video. And a final reminder, don't forget, it's Bank Holiday Monday. Get your tickets for the Dublin show, end of season show, June the 6th in Dublin City. It's going to be a great show. Great to see you there. There are still some tickets left, but they are going fast. Check it out in the video description or the live chat. I'll see you in a mo.